Sorry.
All
Can
right,
hurt
looks like we
to
probably have a critical mass.
All right. I think my clock was a little bit ahead, like 12:33 on it now. I'm like, I've missed some kind of message. I'm not in the club.
Yeah, it's always the same link.
It is?
Yes.
Oh.
I think it's pinned somewhere too on the, or it should be pinned.
Okay. Is that in our process documentation yet?
I pinned it. It's about the 6th or 7th one down in Slack. I think it's. I think there are 9 pins, and it's one of those.
It's not in the documentation though, Michelle, because I think we're worried about getting Zoom bombed.
Right, but I mean, in the pinned items, does it say this is a link to our 12:30 like check-in meeting?
It says just click on this link.
That's not useful.
Yeah, that's not one. Here's one.
All right, well, maybe later we'll fix that.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, well, Maeve, Matt, take us away.
Matt, do you want to come on or?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. So Matt and I actually already met today, and we had a discussion about volunteers and stuff. But I think maybe first we just talk about if anyone has any blockages. The usual format, right?
So,
Everybody good?
No one has any blockages?
No one. That's fantastic. Well, there may be an
That's
update
great.
from Matt and I then, just
Okay.
about volunteers.
well, yeah.
So I got the spreadsheet of volunteer information from David, and I noticed that quite a lot of the volunteers weren't. There was like a mix. There was volunteers that were on the Slack that weren't on the spreadsheet, and then there was volunteers on the spreadsheet that weren't on the Slack, and just volunteers that we haven't really tapped into. So I'm drafting a kind of a message that we'll send to different volunteers and just try and get them on board and try and onboard them and make the most of them. And then from the tech side, maybe Quentin can help me over here. spoke to a friend of mine who's a computer science major, and he was saying that he's got some people that he might be able to call upon, but he just needs some vital information. So if I could just like stuff like, just Quentin, you're muted. I can't hear you. Are you speaking to me?
No, I'm speaking to my 2-year-old. Sorry.
He needs to know stuff like the back end stack, stuff like that, which I think is maybe Michelle can also talk about. Just so that when he puts the call out for volunteers on that side, then he'll be able to. Where are you pointing, Michelle?
Oh, sorry, I'm pointing where Quentin is on my
Oh,
screen. I'm like, no, Quentin's the guy for that. Quentin
You're like pointing to me.
Depending upon how
say
big the screen
something or
is, you
other.
could be pointing
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
that's
everyone.
true.
So that's just something that, so hopefully we'll be able to get some assistance on the development side as well. And otherwise, I mean, all the volunteers that are actually working really hard, I think Noelle's on this call, Hadley and Liz as well, they're all doing exceptional work. Charlotte, I haven't actually really spoken to you, so I don't know what's going on over there. And Kendall, who I thought was a girl. Hi, Kendall. So yeah, so that you're on the dev side though, Kendall, right? Yeah. So I think like
Kendall's doing our back end for the course.
okay.
Great.
So maybe I can actually speak to Kendall as well on who
Yeah.
what information is required for the devs. But then other than that, I think everybody's working really hard, and it's just a case of just like communicating appreciation at this stage to say like, thank you so much for getting us this far.
I want to say thanks to Hadley and Noelle for helping like identify some bugs in the wizard this morning. That was really, really useful.
I have no idea what I did. I don't even think I was helpful.
You were part of this process. If you hadn't been here, it wouldn't have gotten done.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, just to,
Hello, someone. Oh, okay,
Hi.
go ahead. Just to Matt.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
just to reiterate what Maeve is saying, I mean, in terms of the workflow getting stuff through the wizard has been nothing short of amazing. And I know it might not feel that way because it's for people who have their head down coding, and I am now one of those people. There's like a lot of stuff happening that you can't see perhaps, but I like the amount of time that putting stuff through the wizard and doing the labeling process right has saved me has been just incredible. Like there's no way that we could get this stuff up and running without people getting it through this workflow. So it's been really impressive, and thank you.
So other than that, I mean, we wanted to, maybe the tech stuff we can leave to the end, hey Matt, just the tech wish list and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, if there's no blockages, if no one has any issues, maybe some feedback on anything that they've encountered, if not a blockage, something like, issues that they've had and resolved, that maybe we can just communicate to everybody as well. I know the Noelle, what happened with your PDF is Quentin actually did a print to PDF to get that editable. So that's something that maybe we can I'll add to the documentation on how to unlock PDFs. But other than that, I can't think of anything else. I mean, we kind of had our last call on just before Easter, and then now it's like past Easter. So
I had a question to ask if anybody is interested in giving feedback on the wizard UI and what could make it more clear or easier to use. I'm trying to, I don't know. It seemed to me when I was looking at it, maybe it's more clear to people who understand the context. But when I was looking at it, I was like, would I know what to put in these fields, or like, would I, or would this be, kind of, or a difficult interaction? But if you all are happy with how it is, then I won't touch it.
perhaps the only stage is actually when you have the field labels and you're supposed to be putting in things there. That would be the only time that I would say you need some more. But I mean, maybe Noelle, you've done a lot. Charlotte, have you done any of the wizard stuff, putting things through wizards?
We don't have to do the feedback right now. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is I'd like to do the feedback.
Okay.
I'd like
But
to
I just feel
actually
like
sit down and like discuss it. Like
if
not
people
like-
have, I think what Matt and I were discussing is that
Mhm.
if you actually have something that you want people to work on, putting out a general call to action is not the best way, because while people do jump on it, it does help if you say to people like, I know that X, Y, and Z have been working on this. Could are any of them available? Could they help me? So, for example, like I know
Me.
that.
Could you get me to talk to you about UI for the wizard? How about
Got
that?
it.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
we're also trying to tap people who aren't already tapped out.
No. She doesn't have to talk to me about the wizard. She can just point
Find
to someone
someone.
who I can talk to.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who to elicit feedback from.
Yeah. So I know who's been working on the wizard. So I can maybe contact them and say if they have any feedback on, and also maybe just say like user interface, because people might not know UI, or you know what I mean.
This is true. That's a
I
good
have a
point.
question. Are people so the biggest UI challenge in that is where we ask people to say is that what type of field it is. If nobody is generally doing that, we could just take out those two options and just make it the label. That would probably help the most for usability. So it just depends on how often people are customizing those two things.
Yeah, and it doesn't save a ton, like the field type doesn't save a ton of time.
Yeah, that was my other thought. Because if you're going to customize that screen anyway, maybe you just don't present people the choice.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll identify some people that I know have been working on the wizard, and if they have time and they're available, then they can give some feedback. We'll work through some, maybe jump on a call with you, Michelle. Other than that, does anybody have anything that they want to mention?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I actually had a question, but
No, go ahead, ask a question.
okay. I'm just a little behind. I've been caught up with school a little bit, and I was supposed to be working on an instruction sheet for a housing TRO, and I honestly, I don't know if it's already been done. So that was my first question, if it's already been done. And then my second question would be who I can discuss like with that, the instruction, like how to lay it out. These seem a little bit, seem sort of complex. I just wanted to see if I could talk to somebody about that, but I didn't want to hold up the whole entire group here.
Do you have, Maeve, did you put anything in the volunteer handbook about putting together instructions? Because I saw
No.
that Henry's doing it. So what are we, when we're talking about instructions, are we talking about, which instructions are we talking about? So when how you use the interview, what you do with the forms at the end, what I saw that and I thought, oh, what's going on here? You know, what are we talking about? Because obviously, are we talking about things like print out the PDF and you can do these things with it, or what instructions are these?
That's a great question, Caroline. So I think instruction sheet should mean a cover page that goes with the form that's finished. So you know, what do I do with this?
Right. So like what we always do, what we're doing for the others, right? Yeah.
I think other instructions will go in the form itself on the different screens.
So people could, so basically you sort of you write the instructions on the assumption that people are going to get the whole packet at the end, either printed out or as a file. And then the first page will be, depending on how you want to file these, you can email them to somebody, you can send them to the court, you can print them out and you can mail them. So that kind of thing.
That's what I think. So I think we need some general ones that apply for all the forms.
Right. So
some
we
of the
should
forms need special follow-up, like you might.
Yeah. So I mean, the
all
other
be
thing
different depending on how the court wants the forms from us.
Right. And also, I don't know, I mean, I know we're doing emergency forms to begin with. I believe I know that the court has waived affidavits of indigency if you need them. If you don't need an affidavit of indigency, there'll probably be a filing fee, right? Or do we not know about that?
We're not dealing with any filing fees.
Yeah, there won't be any filing fee as long as we're still allowed to email the forms to the court.
Okay, all right, okay. So I guess but that's something we need to tell people in the instructions.
So you said Henry is doing who's actually doing instructions? I haven't discussed instructions with anybody.
So I think I didn't realize what Henry's doing is like the intro pages. I didn't think it was like not the post instructions that people would get for follow-up. I think him and his group are more working on like a paragraph like, use this form for the following, and they were putting that together for some of the 209A forms.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that was like I think Matt had been calling them like splash pages or something.
Yeah.
So we still, maybe someone else is working on it, but that's not what Henry's group is working on. So that might still need to be done.
So Henry is doing like pre-completion, and what Caroline's talking is like the post-completion. What happens when
Yeah.
you're finished?
I
So we
mean,
need to split that up, and then we need to put this in the documentation.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's just what we call things, right? So when instructions are, yeah. So
Yeah. So should we separate it into like pre and post interview instructions, or how best to clarify this?
I don't think you call if Henry's, like Kate was saying, splash screen. So that's
Okay.
kind of like your introduction to it's an introduction rather than an instruction. I
Yeah.
think from Kate, from what you're saying.
Yeah, and I put in like if you can call SafeLink, if this is an emergency call, like basic things that need to go way up front. If this is an emergency, call 911, blah, blah, blah. This is the 209A form. You're using this in this situation.
Mhm.
So we distinguish splash pages from instructions, and then maybe elaborate on that in the workflow. And I'll talk to, so if Henry is doing splash pages, I can speak to him about his experience doing that and maybe build on that.
Yeah.
It's him and like the Northeastern Clinic group.
Okay.
Like he's working with a couple of law students from Northeastern on that. They have
That's
like
they call it a Domestic Violence Institute, right? Those are the same people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that group of students.
Yeah.
So then just to get back to Charlotte's point, how do we know, okay, let me just have a look at the Trello board quick. So Charlotte, your idea was you were doing instructions for, what were you doing? What were you trying to do?
So I honestly, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
But the samples that are on the Trello card, there are different types. Like there seem to be like one that's just like a nicely laid out set of instructions. These are next step instructions, what I'm looking at. Okay. But then there's a domestic violence protection order set of instructions that has like some code in it, and that's where I got confused because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to know this code or if I'm just supposed to write plain out instructions.
Having looked at both of these now, Charlotte, and thank you for sending them over to me, I think it's simpler than both of these. Like all of those examples are like beautiful and very detailed. And I think even just like a bulleted list is enough to start with, to show to subject matter experts and be like, no, we need these other steps in there. I don't think we need to worry about layout or conditional formatting, which is what that code does, until we.
Yeah, that's on me. I pulled some examples from other interviews. So one's a hot docs one, one's a DocAssemble one, but it really should just be the final output is what I should have put there. I don't know if anyone has better samples. Maybe Caroline, you have some from other projects.
Vincent, where is yours? Is it in the Slack or is it on Trello?
It's on the Trello.
Oh.
I'll put it in the channel.
Okay.
So just to clarify, I'm just writing plain English next step instructions.
Yes.
And wouldn't that be one of I think the key thing is, what do I do now? You decide where you're going to file.
Mm-hmm.
And then where you're going to file, I think you could have a placeholder for you're going to file here, and that here would be filled in from your DocAssemble interview. Right?
That makes sense.
Then he would have decided.
So there's near short term and then there's next term for this project, because I think for the next couple of months we can assume we're going to be able to deliver all of the forms for people and they will take advantage of that.
Oh, okay, we're going to assume that they're all going to be all emailed to the court.
Yes, and we will do that for them. They won't have to download and email it.
Right. I do think, I don't think this would be too difficult, but maybe I'm just making it more complicated. I do think that lots of times, particularly for 209A, we ought to have people able to not have them automatically emailed to the court, and they can save it somewhere.
So
already an option
because of the.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that would be part of the instructions. So, know, I wouldn't assume that. That's what I'm saying.
No. And I'm just thinking, I think we're getting a little in the weeds here for this call. And I just want to be mindful of people's time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to say is I'm gonna need some folks for all those forms that we already have the pre-filled. I'd love to get those forms up there on the site so people could see what we're working on. And so they need language, plain language descriptions of what they are and titles. Those probably already exist because I think they're part of the workflow, but I want to make sure that we get those for all the forms that are in the bucket now. And I actually have a spreadsheet I'll share where people can plop them in as part of the workflow. So maybe Matt, I'll send that to you and you can.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Hadley asked me earlier today, was just like if we can have a list of all the forms. That would be great. Thank you. So Charlotte, has your question been resolved?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. I think I'll elaborate on that in the workflow in the workflow and just make that clearer. Thank you for bringing that up, Charlotte. Other than that, does anybody else have anything pressing that they want to raise?
I just want to say everyone's doing a great job. Yeah, I'm going to talk with the court later today, and hopefully we'll get some more motion on getting them to tell us exactly how they want us to get things and what they're going to do. I'd say the stories I could tell, but this is being recorded. So I will just say you all are doing a great job.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to echo that. I mean, it's really been, and actually every time that you guys run into a bug, I know it's frustrating for you, but you're helping us get the process better. It's just going up and up and how great this is going. So nice job, everybody.
Okay, so not to take up any more of anyone's time, I think that if I could just keep Matt, Michelle, Quentin, David on the line just for a second, just about the tech stuff, then everybody else will stay in touch on Slack. And Noelle, I'll do the QC on that form after this call.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry.
Kendall, stay on too?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendall. Sorry, Kendall. Hi. I'm Maeve.
Good use of the chat.
It's good to meet you. So basically what Matt and I were talking about, maybe Matt can actually speak to this more.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Maeve. I'm sorry.
No. There was just a crash there. I'm always like, is this in my house? Or, so we were basically saying, like, do you guys have a tech wish list of things that if we get access to people who can donate some of their time and they have development backgrounds, what do you want to be done?
And Calvin, what I'm thinking of there is like Quentin. I'm thinking of our experience. My friend who works in GIS, who whips something up in like half an hour that I don't know how we would have done.
I have no idea how we would have even started that. That was great. That was amazing.
And so, yeah.
Maybe it's something you guys can think about. I mean, you don't have to come up with stuff now.
So I've got a wish list for testing to start, and I've actually got someone new who might be working on that, starting to work on that this evening, and I may start working on that this evening, but putting together a comprehensive set of tests. Because what my wish list actually is to refactor and simplify a lot of this stuff, but we cannot do that until we've got tests that will tell us if we're breaking anything. So
testing engineers. Testing engineers, that type of
Yes, testing engineers. And a lot of it is testing Python, and some of it is testing DocAssemble, and that's a bit more complex to onboard people to.
Well, I would say, though, that we could probably use people who can do lettuce scripts of the interviews and come up with a process for doing that for all the interviews.
That would also be great, yeah.
Yeah, which isn't really a DocAssemble specific thing. There might be ways DocAssemble can make it easier, but it's just driving.
Well, it's not a DocAssemble specific thing other than, I mean, it has weird characters going on. Like, there's quirks that it helps to know some quirks about the way DocAssemble sets up its text and stuff like that.
That's fair. Yeah, but it seems like that's if someone has experience testing, they could learn that part, and it will be really useful for this project long term to be able to have consistent testing of all the interviews.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Okay, so that's one thing. And you said that testing is priority because we need to test before we can refactor. Refactor.
Things like
Got it.
rewriting existing code to make it easier to add features and more reliable and robust.
Got it.
Taking the stuff you threw up on the page, so to speak, and making it look nice so you can come back and do stuff with it later.
It's like editing a brief.
Thanks for putting it in my language. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the other thing is that obviously, so I spoke to my friend. What he asked some things. He said, "What is the backend stack?" And maybe just a link. We can get a link to the repo and sure, some other stuff. But I'll ask him. Just if we could give it the backend stack, because then we can get people who are, say, in their final year of CS, or people who have some time on their hands now, just to help out with you. I'm not sure how intense the onboarding thing would be for you, for your side of the, the back end work. But I just know that I have access to those people. So if we can try and tell them as much information and see who can jump in.
Sounds good. So I know a blocker has been code that I wrote that wasn't documented. So that's for testing will help, where there's more things that we can have people learn on their own. But also I'm starting to have more time available now that we've finished more of the core features. Definitely seems like a good priority. We want to get more people on so that we're not as busy. Can't be too busy. More help. That's not a good.
But do we know, I think Maeve is specifically asking right now about the back end stack. Like, do you or Kendall know what kind of skills someone would need in order to help with the back end?
Thank you, Michelle. That's I don't know.
I think that the answer is that they need to know Python and they have to be able to become familiar with docassemble. It does things its own way, and so it's not just enough to be Python familiar, but things like what Calvin worked on, that wasn't a docassemble skill, and then Tyler did just pure Python. We could try to identify more things like that that can be done independent.
I mean, what kind of database? Do you use a SQL database? Do you use like
Postgres?
Postgres? Like what are you using? What?
Postgres.
So there's a
Postgres?
Postgres database, but also there's a Redis instance for other components of it.
It's really hard to hear you, Kendall. Can you say that like louder?
So we had the Postgres database for the main parts, the users, interviews. There's also a Redis database as well.
Redis, REDIS.
Yes.
Postgres
I'm like, I'm hearing Reddit, so I don't know what means.
we have a thread. We scrape it.
Yep. And that's how we store our data.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm helping with that Learned Hands thing, David, for Stanford with you guys, and the Reddit law questions are wild. It's like this project where people are identifying legal issues in the Reddit law thread. Oh my God, the things people ask. Like I was caught with. It's just like, oh my God. Yeah. Who's going to Reddit to ask these questions? It's wild. But anyway,
apparently people.
People who don't know that Discover is a thing.
So I've got a little bit of information to take to him, and hopefully he'll be able to put us in touch with some people. And then Matt, I realized the one thing I forgot to mention today was the to-do list of things that aren't on the Trello board. We've got 2 minutes here. David, last week we were speaking about the to-do list that doesn't really fit in with the workflow. So legal research, things like that. And Matt and I talked, and we decided that maybe for a week we can just try out having it as a Google Doc, because there's two benefits. One is that if people aren't comfortable on Trello, they can just go to the Google Doc and put their name next to something. Second thing is that it doesn't move through the workflow. So it doesn't really make sense to have it as a column. So
it doesn't move through the workflow. That seems reasonable.
So
we're not overly dogmatic here.
So I just think that we're going to try that. So if people have things that they want done, we can add that on there. And then, it just gives, if people are, especially like now this week, we're going to hectically drive for just getting people on board and giving people things to do. Yeah. So if anybody has things that they want done.
Yeah, and aside from the existing forms that we're already working on, so that just means the TRO that Quentin's working on, everything else should be something from, of course, this is the 209A falls in this category too, because it already is, but it should be on those sheets I gave you from the probate court or the juvenile court. Anything outside of that is not part of our world. even more housing stuff at this point, just the TRO, and then
Okay.
because those are the things the court has explicitly said they want, and they've explicitly said they wanted them emailed. And again, knowing what I know, that is the stuff that we definitely really need to. I mean, that's the stuff we need to get.
Push, yeah. Okay, so just, you know, I'm not sure, maybe Kendall, Quentin, Michelle, if you guys have things that you want done, Charlotte, if you want things done, then you can just maybe tell us, and we'll put them on the to-do list, and then we'll also just let people know that there is the to-do list, so that if they're not doing something on the Trello board, that's where they can employ their services.
Can you remind me again what kind of things? These are like legal questions, or
just, I think, general tasks that don't fit
Things
in
that don't fit.
anywhere. Yeah.
okay.
And maybe what we'll do, I'm just thinking now, Matt, just expanding on our earlier ideas, we have a table with the task, and then perhaps a contact person. So if they want to find out more, or the person who recommended, or the person who basically suggested the task, and then the person who is going to work on that. And we'll see how that works
Trello
this
for
week.
non-Trello comfortable folks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's just
Well, I
that,
was
you know,
saying
people are
real-
coming to me and like, how do I use Trello? And I'm like, here's a 5-minute video.
Well, creating more documentation might be something in there, as
Yeah.
well as the, you know, like my request for feedback on the wizard.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's definitely
I'm
something that,
suggesting those to you.
okay, I'll put those in.
Okay.
I'll do that. I think also, as I said, to you, David, is that all the Google Docs need to be from Suffolk. So I can't be creating these documents.
Oh no, definitely. So do you
So
want a
if you-
new, you just want a Google Doc?
Yeah, do you mind just making some Google Docs for me, and then I'll just edit them and change them, just as long as Suffolk is
How
the
many do you
owner, so
want?
that go.
Start with
3
and go from
Okay,
there.
5, yeah. I got so many things I want to document. Okay, that's enough of everyone's time. It's 7. It's
All right.
1 o'clock. It's lunchtime. Go eat that Easter chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, chocolate,
Mm.
but yeah.
Chocolate. No, I've eaten
My
so
daughter,
much chocolate.
my 1.5-year-old discovered chocolate yesterday, and we had an Easter egg hunt. And I mean, she's had chocolate before, but it was these like Hershey Kisses that had like caramel in them, and it was like she was like more. It was very exciting.
Scary. Yes.
Scary.
All right. Okay then.
Guys, thank you
There
so
are no
much.
more. Yeah.
As always.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.